Okay, so let's get started today. Okay, so really today I wanted to be on the eve of what's going to happen this coming week. I wanted to activate each and every one of us like a spiritual wake-up call. That was my thought for today, because we all need it. It doesn't matter, how many years you've been in the center, how many years you've been learning. We all need that wake-up call constantly, because until the job is finished, the job is not finished. Until there's peace on earth, we know there's more light to be spread, there's more transformation we have to go through, etc. And we know that the easiest thing to do, the longer we're in, especially in the center, is become like complacent. I don't want to say apathetic, but complacent, right? We all care, but we kind of run into that, get in a routine, it's going well, we're better off than a lot of people out there, so we're okay. And that's not good. That's not good, because just same like you and I, any of you here, any of you watching, do you feel like you're 100% fulfilled? No. But we all know that we already have 100% fulfillment. So we cannot afford to be complacent, because that just means then that the pieces of our soul that are not being revealed somehow have to show up and have to be revealed. So it's better we do it, as we'll talk a little more today, better we do it on our own than wait for the universe to push us to do it. So complacency, and that's why we need each other, right? That's why it's so nice to be here again physically, because it's a new awakening. You follow? Because your energy helps me. I hope my energy helps you, and all of you who are watching around the world, especially those of you who are in a place by yourself. Here at least, we can gather some people together, but some of you are out in places that you have nobody else around you. So these events and the global events that we have now on Kabbalah.com are helping to keep us awakened, to be refreshed, right? Not reset, but to be refreshed so we're going forward and forward. So some of you may know, I may have talked about it. As long as I can remember growing up, my father was always involved in politics, right? Local councilman, he used to walk his district and, knock on the doors to introduce himself, et cetera, et cetera. He got involved for a while with state politics. He got involved a little bit actually in national politics. So I've been around it for many, many years. And of course, the typical thing in politics is always there's some kind of name calling, this guy's no good, and he's this and this and this, or she's whatever. But I have to tell you, in these last few years, I have never, ever in my life seen such vocal hatred, animosity, name-calling, violence, etc. It's just spewing out garbage. You and I have to wake up. We want to see, and this is what I wanted to bring to each of us, and all of you who are around the world, you've been learning with us, so you understand that the Zohar is the blueprint of the universe. It's the blueprint of the soul. So we want to hold that as our measuring device or our perspective in life. In fact, I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody, and they were saying the same thing, similar to what I used to say 30 years ago when I first started teaching introductory lectures. You have the Zohar with all the science and all the provable facts written 2,000 years ago. Good and bad cholesterol, quantum physics, computer science, all those kinds of things. And then you had science, which respectfully is constantly growing in their understanding. So what they told us 100 years ago, the molecule is the smallest particle of matter. 100 years ago, was that true or was it not true? It was not true, but that was the perspective from the scientific point of view. Then, of course, they came out and broke the molecule into atoms, and then they broke the atoms into proton, neutron, electron. So in this conversation yesterday, this person was basically saying the same thing. I just put it a little more succinctly. When we wake up in the morning, we're deciding our future, life and death literally, on how we believe the world works. So I used to throw it out there. I said, so if you've got 2,000 years that the Zohar has been right on, spot on, even when the scientists laughed at the Kabbalists, but 2,000 years later, they're proving what the Zohar wrote. So you have a track record of 2,000 years being right on. You have science that keeps wavering. One day they say this, and one day, and again, I'm not being disrespectful in that way. We just have to be objective. They keep changing. And in fact, unfortunately, many of the things that they've brought into the world have been used or caused a lot of chaos and negativity. So if we realize we're betting our life every day with how we believe the universe works, so which you're going to bet on? 2,000 years of a perfect track record, or years that keep flopping back and forth like this? Which is going to be a better bet? And so we have to come to that objectivity. So I wanted to make sure that we're looking at things Kabbalistically. And so if some of you, are involved in the politics, that's really not the issue today. We've got to stand back and we've got to see a much bigger picture. And that's really where I wanted to go. So we know that we talked about, I think, a couple weeks ago, Satan, the opponent, right? The opponent is one simple thing: divisiveness, fragmentation. So look at history. How many different ways has Satan found to divide people? If you think about it, religion, right? Religion is supposed to connect people to God. Does God hate anybody? No. So why has religion become, in many ways, the divisive force of fighting, killing, within one's religion and to other religions? Or you have the economics, or you have politics, or whatever. You go right down the line. There's always a way to divide people, right? Do you believe in global warming? Half the world says yes, half the world says no. Do you believe in whatever? The pollution of the water. Half yes, half no. Carbon, what do they call it? Carbon footprint. You follow wherever you go. It's divisive. There's really nothing in the 1% world that 100% of the people say, yes, this is the way. But politics, I believe, has become the latest, the newest thing, up until COVID, right? Whatever, a year ago, I looked at politics was the divisive force, the most powerful, I think, right? And it's not just here in America, but around the world. Now you got COVID. People, is it China's fault? Is it not China's fault? Do we do this? Do we this? All these different things. Nobody's agreeing. And it's not just not agreeing. It's the fear, the paranoia, the blame, the anger, the animosity that comes with it. That's the real problem, right? Whether we agree or not, we can all work together. So I came up with that idea. If you think about it, I don't know if you've ever seen, I'm not sure, we used to call it crew, right? The people who do the rowing on those little boats, etc. So let's look at this. You've got, I don't even know how many people there were, 6 or 8 or 10 can be in one of those, let's call a rowboat, because I don't know what they technically call it. But you have 10 guys who are rowing, right? And you have one guy trying to keep them in harmony. Row, 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 whatever it is. Row, row, row your boat. So, you see them out on the water and they go, it's amazing. When they're all in harmony, right? They're all rowing in perfect synchronicity, then it goes well and it goes quickly. Once they start to get out of sync with each other, then what happens? It starts to swerve around slow and they're going to lose the race. So I thought, let's look at life that same way. And the thing is also, if you think about it, those 10 guys or 12 guys that are in that rowboat, do they really, while they're doing the rowing, do they really have to like the other people in the boat? They don't have to like them. They don't have to have, say, in the background, like with their political views, economic status. They don't have to like them at all. But for the sake of the bigger picture, winning the race, they all have to work together. You follow? They all have to row in sync. So the Kabbalah is teaching us basically the same thing. Humanity, we don't have to like each other. But as Karen Berg taught me, you have to have human dignity. Because we're all in it together. We are all in it together, and nobody is escaping this world, even through what we call death. Now, some of you may be new and you don't understand that we teach reincarnation. So nobody escapes. When a person leaves the world, they come back again to finish what they didn't finish. So there really is no escape. You remember the movie Groundhog Day? It's similar to that, right? It happens again and again and again and again till we wake up and we get the idea, wait a second, not about them, it's about me. So we've got to start looking at that bigger picture, and you and I are the ones who have to lead that charge. Because we're learning here in the Kabbalah Center that's teaching this wisdom of the Zohar, which is universal. Doesn't matter where you come from. Look how many people we've got from all over the world. And we're all rallying around this idea of the Zohar, this teaching of the Zohar, soul's technology. And the more we gather together, like on that rowboat, as we're working in sync, then the world will be better off. And who does the world include? Everybody. So if the world wins, everybody wins. Same thing, whether it's crew or it's football or basketball. You have a lot of people who are there on the team and they practice during the season or the off season or whatever, but they never get in the game. But when those players who are in the game win, the Super Bowl, let's say, who wins? Just those, 22, 25 people, or the whole roster of 50 some odd people and the coaches and everyone else? Who really wins? The whole team wins. So it's to the advantage of each and every participant to help those who are, let's say, on the field playing to win. So you and I, as the Kabbalist teachers, we're harming ourselves by separating ourselves out of the masses. Think about it. If we're not concerned about all 7.5 billion people on the planet, then somewhere along the line we've left, heaven forbid, an open space in our life where our protective shield of the light is not there, and some negativity is going to come in. Because we're not yet complete. As you all admitted, we all said, not 100% yet. Potential, are we pure and perfect beings of light? Yes or yes? Yes. Yes or yes? We are pure and perfect beings of light. We already have all the light. We have to make it manifest. So we know that wherever there's that aspect that's blocked, either we're going to run after that blockage and remove the blockage and let the light flow, or something outside, like will attract like. So our fear will attract a fearful situation. Our greed will attract a greedy situation. Our egos will attract an egotistical situation. Till we get the idea, I have to unblock myself. So if I'm looking at the whole world and I begin to access the heart and soul that is light in every person on earth, then that which I couldn't do by myself, I can do because I've accessed a quantum energy of all of you and everybody else around the world. So I have that much more light. I've essentially, on a spiritual level, I've enlisted hundreds, thousands, millions, or billions of people to help me in my correction process, to help me, as we call it, tikkun or karma, to help me remove the blockages. Because there's a lot of, why do we all have teachers? One of the things that Karen Berg started in the center was to have teachers, to have the ability of students to meet with teachers. Why? Because we can't see ourselves. Karen used to say, why do you need a mirror? Because none of us can see ourselves. Why do pencils have erasers? I don't know. Do you remember a pencil? Any of you out there remember? Now, who knows? Now you got everything on a computer. There are no pencils, right? Why do pencils have erasers? Because we're all going to make a mistake, right? It's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean we're bad people, but we're going to make a mistake, so the universe has a way of erasing the mistake and rewriting it again. So if that's true physically, how much more spiritually? So that's what the tikkun process means. I'm here to correct my negativity. So we either do it voluntarily or involuntarily. So that's what we got to keep in mind. Do we want it to be forced on us, or do we want to do it ourselves? Great, good answer. Do you want to do it yourself, or you want to have it forced on you? Somebody writing real quick. Forced? Forced or voluntary? Someone put it on there. I want to see it. You want to be forced to do your tikkun, or you want to do it voluntary? Come on, some brave soul. I don't see forced. Oh, I see. Okay, a heart. I guess that means voluntary. Okay, great. Thank you, Sean. Okay, right? We'd rather do it ourselves. Because if it's involuntarily, it comes in a way we don't expect. At least if we set it up, we know what the parameters are. How many of you ever apologized to somebody that was difficult to apologize to? You ever do that? Yes. Exactly. So as you're thinking, okay, I'm going to apologize, and then you got that fight in your brain. Satan, the opponent, telling you, why are you going to apologize to them? Even they did the bad thing. How come they don't apologize for it? You go through that whole fight, but you're willing to make the effort to be the first one and say, you know what, I'm sorry what I did to you. And if you have done it, how do you feel after you've said you're sorry? Even before they respond. The fact you said, you know what, I want to apologize for my bad behavior in whatever form. How do you feel in that moment? Heavier or lighter? Lighter, because you just unburdened yourself. You took off some of those shells that block our light. You take off some of the heavy weight of holding the resentment, the anger, the greed, the guilt, the shame, whatever it is. So if you think in those, it doesn't even matter what they say. Whether they forgive you or not, it doesn't matter. You've already unburdened some aspect of your own being, right? You're more light, shining more light, and therefore you're attracting more light things. So now, what's happening in the world? And this again, some of you may have heard that, some of you may know this, some of you may not. The Kabbalists teach us the Bible is metaphorical. We do believe those events happened. We do believe there was a flood. We do believe there's a person, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, etc., etc. But it's more about what they showed us by example. Right? How many of you are reading books to try and make your business better, or I don't know, do gardening or do whatever, something you want to improve, and you're reading a book by, what's his name? I don't know if I should. Think and Grow Rich. Right? People want to grow rich. Is Napoleon Hill still physically in this world? No. So you can read a book by somebody who's no longer here and still benefit, right? So can we not benefit from the lessons taught to us by the actions of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, etc., etc.? You follow? That's how the Kabbalists look at the Bible. So it says 7 days of creation. Got to make sure I got the right fingers. 7 days of creation correspond to 7,000 years in this cycle of existence. Okay? Kabbalistic counting. So Kabbalistically then, if you think about it, what was the seventh day? It says in the Bible, the seventh day is the day of rest, the day of peace, the Sabbath, Shabbat. So that means then, according to the Kabbalists, by the year 6,000, which is when that seventh day begins. And that's why those of you who come from a Christian background, how many years is the dragon chained according to the book of Revelation? Ooh. Oh, now hear it over there. 1,000 years, right? It says the dragon, meaning the darkness will be chained 1,000 years. So it fits with Kabbalah. That's why we're taking the Zohar's perspective on things. You'll be able to see everywhere how the system works. Through your religion, through your own personal issues, through the economics, the politics, and all the rest of it. So it says by the year 6,000, we have to have removed all of our klipot, all of our blockages. We cannot anymore hold, after the year 6,000, anger, jealousy, greed, insecurity, ego, fear, guilt, shame. Cannot, because it's 1,000 years of peace. So what happens as we get closer to the year 6,000? And for those of you not familiar, Kabbalistically, we are in the year 5,781. So it's not 2020 in Kabbalistic counting, where you could say, we got almost 5,000 more years or 4,000. No, we have basically 219 years left. For some of you, it sounds like a long time. 219 years, who's going to be around? What do we care? One, we will be around through reincarnation. So you want to make a better world for your future, right? You ever see any of these like Rip Van Winkle movies where the people go to sleep, they're going to put themselves to sleep to come back in the future? So what do? They want to prepare their future, whatever they think, put money away or hide things or whatever, so when they wake up 100 years from now, it'll be a great world, right? They'll have all the advantages. Well, we want to do the same. So if you think even 219 years, person leaves this world, they'll come back again. So the better we make the world now, the better world we would have to come into, or we would be able to come into. Now, you and I play our cards right, we won't have to leave this world. We'll just start enjoying the Garden of Eden right now, a little early, right? We'll see the early show. All right, but so then what happens as we get closer to the year 6,000? What has to happen? All of our darkness has to come to the surface, so that we can transform it. Because it's only up to us. It's only up to us. Nobody can take away our chaos, only we can. We can support each other, we can help each other, but each one of us are responsible for our chaos because we're the ones who created it in the first place. And that's what is also essential that we hold today. Look at your life up to now. Look at your life in the past few years. Think about who created it. Who created your life the last 5, 10, 15 years? Oh, no, okay, I hear. I can hear the struggle. I can hear the struggle. I want to say, well, my parents did this to me, or this teachers did this to me, or that boyfriend or girlfriend, or this person, or my sibling. We all want to start blaming people, right? Let's be honest. There's a part of us wants to blame. Well, no, they did that to me, so that's what happened to me. We're here today to understand, no, we cannot say that anymore. We cannot say that. We are creators. The Creator gave us what's called the image and likeness, which means we have the power to create. The sad part is most people don't realize every thought they have is creating. It's not a thought. There's no such thing Kabbalistically as a thought that just hangs out. Every thought will manifest in some way, shape, or form. So that's why, what do we say here? Consciousness is everything. Because when a person is unconscious, then whatever was continues. You drive down the street and you take your foot off the gas. You were doing 60 miles an hour. Does it come? It continues with the force. Yes, it'll slow down, but essentially in that first moment, it's still 60 miles an hour, even though you took the foot off the gas. So the same thing, if we're sitting here, even we're 80% fulfilled and 20% unfulfilled, if we take our foot off the gas of our spiritual evolution, it'll stay 80-20. And that 20 is going to come after us till we transform it, till we reveal the light that's hiding in it. So there's no staying the same. There's no getting out of it. You follow? There's no settling where we are. We've got to keep pushing ourselves more and more and more so that we can push ourselves to the 100%. We can enjoy 219 extra years. Wouldn't that be great? Of peace and harmony and joy and happiness?
Yes. Yeah.
So as we get closer to 6,000, the world is being squeezed like a tube of toothpaste. And if you look at the last maybe 8, 9, 10 years, it should be easy to see when you stand back and you look at it from this vantage point, you can see things are squeezing. What's happening to the size of Earth, metaphorically, in the last 10, 15, 20 years? Smaller, right? And COVID has proven it clearly in our own eyes. No? Which part of the world is not thinking about COVID, trying to do things about it, arguing about it, fighting about it, whatever? Which part of the world? But it's only, how big is a virus? You can't even see it. And this little microscopic invisible thing is impacting every human being on Earth all around the world. Can we really say anymore we're all separate? America is separate from South and North America. It's separate from the Far East, the Middle East, the North. No, there's no separation anymore. COVID is showing us. If we thought about it 25 years ago, 50 years ago, did you ever see somebody say, this is American air, right? It doesn't mix with Mexican air, Canadian air, like that. Ever been such a thing? No. What a person puts in the air over there in the Far East will eventually show up all around the world and back to the Far East, no? But some people got it. That's why people dealt with pollution, right? Because it doesn't matter if they're polluting in one area of the world. Eventually it's going to go around because the air is a big bubble around the whole earth. Water in a similar way, the environment, etc. Now it should be much more clear. We're seeing because we're being squeezed. Is everyone following the idea? So that's what's happening. And therefore, who do you think, when we talked about a few weeks ago, we set up the opponent and we programmed the opponent to put those negative thoughts in our head. You think he's playing harder or easier now? Harder, right? All the garbage coming to the surface, the stuff that's been most difficult for us to deal with. So he's got to play equal to that energy. So if we've been evolving, and you and I who are learning here, we make that effort to evolve. And so as we evolve, we're getting to higher levels. The opponent has to play higher levels, right? You play elementary school football, it's one level. You get to professional football, it's still like elementary. No, just kidding. Just to make sure you're listening. You know what I'm saying? Now you're playing tougher. The opponents are tougher, but you're also stronger. So the same spiritually. As we evolve spiritually, the opponent has to evolve with us so that it's an equal effort. Because what's at stake? What's at stake when you're in elementary school versus, let's say, the Super Bowl? You follow, there's a lot more reward, let's call it, in the Super Bowl than, winning in elementary school. So similarly, as we grow spiritually, the rewards are also greater. Health, peace, protection, prosperity, all the good things. So the rewards get stronger, better, higher, bigger, then the opponent has to be equal with that. So we've got to expect, and that's what you and I are learning. People out there, they're being shocked because they're not expecting it. They think if their life is good, it should just stay that way. No, what they didn't reveal, the opponent's going to... You and I understand that, so we can be ahead of the game. But it's the same way. As we realize that we're all in it together, does it matter if we like each other? No, we don't have to like each other. That's what I said. Karen Berg taught us, because even, transparency, even among the teachers years ago, even today, there's still conflict. Not fighting and arguing, but we're still difference of opinion, different way of looking at things, right? Our own negativity will sometimes rub with each other. The nice part, and what's been also growing, and I have to share because some of them are probably watching, we've gotten closer. In other words, how do you make, when you cut two pieces of wood, how do you make them fit together perfectly? What do you have to do?
Find the minus.
Two pieces of wood, physically. You got to sand them, right? They got all the little splinters and the burrs when you first cut it, so you sand them down. What's sand? Friction. So if the idea, now the person who's sanding the wood, are they thinking, nasty wood, I hate you, I'm going to get you? Yes or no? No, it's for the good purpose of sanding them down so the two pieces fit together better. So as you and I, as the teachers do now, when there's a little friction, you deal with it, you work it out, but you see the bigger picture. It's for the good of the center, etc. Any of you read the book, Two Unlikely People? If you haven't, I highly encourage Two Unlikely People. The Rav and Karen, when they first started, there was a lot of friction. Karen freely admits it, but it wasn't against each other. It was friction of their different life paths that got married so that they could make this wisdom called Kabbalah accessible to every human being on earth. So it was friction, so to speak, but progressive, moving in a good way. So if we hold human dignity, and again, I don't have to like what people do, etc., but I have to have human dignity. And if I work, and we all work together with human dignity, then the differences, the little friction that'll come along, makes things fit together better, stronger, more powerfully. And the more people we get to work together faster, what happens to the collective darkness in the world? It goes away faster. And those people out there who aren't awoken yet, they'll start to wake up. Because light will activate the light in their soul. That's why we do what we do. Spread the light, it awakens a light in them. We don't have to teach everybody, but we have to spread enough light that it'll awaken inside them. So human dignity is the key. Human dignity. Now, just a reminder, or maybe for some of you it's new, as simple as your car. Some of you drove here. Which way does the car go? Wherever you steer it. Have you ever not paid attention? Okay, nobody can see you, so it's okay, right? Have you ever not paid attention for a little bit, and suddenly the car, running over the next lane or something like that? Terrible car, huh? We should blame the car. No, you look this way, and you turn your hands, the car's going to go that way. You look this way, we're steering the car, so wherever it ends up is relative to how we steer it. So what about life? The car works, right? At least the new car, ideally, right? It works a perfect system, yes? So the Zohar says that nature works perfectly and is perfect. And here comes the tough part. So it says, why are there hurricanes, floods, fires, tornadoes, all of that? Yeah. Human negativity. The same, simple. Why is there pollution in the air? Because the air polluted itself? Human beings did whatever they did to pollute the air. So the air gets polluted and now doesn't nourish, right, human beings as purely as pure air. You follow? But you can't blame the air. You can't blame the animals. Who is it? Human beings. Our free will determines whether nature will work perfectly or imperfectly. Nature is programmed to respond to our actions. Now, maybe scary thought, because some of you already say, so we create the hurricanes, this typhoon that's out there, we created it? Yes. In fact, the Rav years ago, long before even global warming, the Rav used to come tell us like this. You remember when they came out with this idea of airborne disease? Not that there wasn't before, but suddenly it came to the mind of the scientists. Airborne disease. So the Rav said, very simple. What's airborne disease? When people speak gossip, evil speech. Is that not an airborne disease? Let me ask you, have you ever been upset by something somebody said?
Yes.
They didn't touch you, right? They did nothing physically to you. So why were you upset? Why were you ill at ease? Airborne disease. They spoke, it went in the air, somehow came to you, and now you're ill at ease. You're not comfortable, you're angry, you're upset, you're hurt, you're something. Right? Global warming, when it came around, the Rav said very simple, along the same lines. Like we said this, if you do this, what happens to your hands? They warm up. So what's global warming? People fighting and arguing with each other, the conflict between human beings. So you imagine 7.5 billion people having some conflict like this, where's that heat go? In the atmosphere. Now, some of you out there don't believe this, because everybody here does believe. Right? Why wouldn't we believe that? I mean, think about it. According to the Kabbalists, gossip, and another thing we can throw in there, evil eye, jealousy. Ooh, the Kabbalist's right. 99% of the people who die before their time die from evil eye, jealousy. Oh, now you can already hear Satan's fighting hard. No, what are you kidding? How can jealousy cause people to die and this and this? Why do not, present company excluded, why don't people believe that? Why don't they believe that speaking bad, right, judging and criticizing people in a negative way? Again, you and I, we come to each other, you could say, hey, tell me something I need to change. That's not evil speech then. You're helping me because you asked or I asked or whatever. But you know, all the rest of it. How is it that people don't believe that gossip or evil speech can kill people? Well, that's a different issue. He says because they want to keep doing it, it feels good. Okay, that's true in a way. You can't see it because scientists have not yet been able to find the virus or the bacteria of evil speech. Now, one day, when they'll find it, let's say 1,000 years ago, did they know ultraviolet light? Did they know gamma rays and X-rays? So there was no gamma rays and X-rays, right? Because scientists didn't know about it. So nobody got skin cancer, let's say, by being out in the sun too long. You follow what I'm getting at? But one day they discovered ultraviolet light and the impact on skin, so then they said, so the ultraviolet light caused the skin cancer. You follow? Or cigarettes cause lung cancer. They found, you follow, the virus, the thing, the physical thing. But before they found the physical thing, there was also problems. So the same way. So what's going to happen? One day, when they'll find the virus of gossip, and they'll see the negative impact on people that cause disease, then they'll do what? Then they'll start an answer. They say, okay, now we need to do something about this virus of gossip. You follow? That's why people don't believe it. That's the blessing that you and I have because we're here learning this system so we can apply it in our life. And we can see how it works. Tell me you've never been or know anybody who's never been negatively impacted by gossip. You know anybody been hurt by gossip? Have you maybe been hurt by gossip?
I think it's proven.
Yeah. Okay. Certainly by human anecdotal, right? By our own experience, we've seen that. People speak gossip, they speak bad. We see the negative impact. You follow? But to really think on a collective level, that's the problem. So when the Zohar said, that our behavior is causing nature to work in an unnatural way, the beauty of that means then we can do the opposite. If we can make it go bad, we can make it go good. You follow? That's the power we have because it's in our hands. It's in our hands. We just have to start seeing the bigger picture. We have to understand cause and effect. So like we spoke before, I think, when people are judging or angry or jealous or whatever it is, Why do they do it? Because Satan makes us think we're gaining something over the other person. But spiritually, there's either win-win or lose-lose. If a person sees what looks like win-lose, like somebody gained to the disadvantage of somebody else, they're not seeing the reality. They're only seeing temporary. Right? The thief runs away with a bag of money out of the bank. When you first see him outside the bank, does it look like he won or lost? Looks like he won. And the bank lost, right? But 5 minutes later, when the police catch him, he lost also. You get the idea? It's just a matter of the process. And not all the processes happen quickly. They're starting to happen faster now. But up to this point, they didn't happen that way. So then, as we're coming to what's going on in the world, we can look the same way. Next week, here in America, we're deciding the presidential election. Yes, who's going to be president? So there's a lot of animosity. This one, that one, fighting back and forth. But let's think about it also in the Kabbalistic point of view. 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, 20 years, etc. If you look back on the history of America, has there anything been bad or good that's lasted completely in the same way for 10, 20, 30 years? Or is it always changing? Okay. So, and I'm not telling you not to vote. I'm not telling you not to have your opinion. Please don't go there. Have your opinion or whatever it is and vote the way you want to vote. But realize also it's only temporary. 4 years, 8 years. You get the idea? You and I are learning to stand back and see, no, we want to see the next 219 years. We want to see what's happening along those lines. You follow? So wherever you're going to vote, whatever you're going to do, we have to think this way. And I want to make sure I wrote it very nicely, so I want to try and keep to this. We've all heard it so many times, but I want us to hear it in a new way today. And so I ask you, just close your eyes for a moment, open your heart, open your spiritual ears, and focus on the light. Because we've heard this so many times, it's easy for Satan to make us forget. It's not what happens to us. It's how we respond that determines our destiny, individually and collectively. It's not what happens to us, it's how we respond. So just let it sink in your heart, let it sink in your mind, right? As if it's the first time you heard it and really got it. Okay, so open your eyes. So it's not, no Kabbalist ever said, and in 33 years I'm in the center, nobody ever said, well, you learn Kabbalah, you scan the Zohar, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. No such thing. No such thing. But we have to recognize, yes, bad things happen. We're probably all of us watching, have some kind of challenges in our life. We've got to keep more strongly today than ever. It's not what happens. It's how do we respond that's going to determine what our destiny is. We were just talking a few minutes before we started here at 11, right? People can either give up when things happen, or they can get up and do something about it. Take control. It's in our hands. Nobody else tells us we have to give up. Nobody else tells us we have to get up and move, right, and do something about it. It's all up to us. It's up to us. It's our choice. So we're not saying bad things didn't happen. We're not saying that you can't look around the world and see that there's chaos in the world, right? Growing up, my parents got divorced, not nicely, caused a lot of divisiveness in the family. My mother died partly because of that and other things. My brother died. You can look back and see a lot of chaos. Think of your own. Think of bad things that happen. How did you survive? Why aren't you still stuck there? Think about it. We found a way. Even if it was just, let's call it survive. You just knew you had to push through. You just had to keep going anyway. Now we want not just to survive, we want to thrive. That's what we're learning. So yes, well, we've all survived traumatic things, maybe some of you really horrible things. But you survived and look who you are. You're good people. If you're here learning, you have to be a good person. If you're watching this, you have to be good people. So in spite of what happened to you, it turned out good. You follow? If we can do that without the wisdom of Kabbalah and the tools we have, how much more can we do with the tools and with the unity and the working together? And that's the point. 219 years, it's going to happen anyway. That's guaranteed. What you and I are learning is how to speed up the process and make it more merciful by working together, using the tools, and voluntarily removing our blockages. Then you just automatically, the lights inside of us just shines out into the world. Like will attract like. The more light we shine, the more light comes back to us. The more blessings. And then even when the next challenge comes along, more light, more power to pause and say, no, let me turn it around. Let me transform it into a blessing. That's the power we have. Doesn't it say in the Bible, didn't God turn darkness to light? So we could do the same thing. So when challenges come our way, that's all we're learning. The Zohar says, take the light out of the darkness. We can do it. We can do it. So, yeah, bad things happen, it doesn't matter. Where we'll go with it is up to us. So, if we work together and we keep in mind the big picture, if it's before you vote or whatever it is, stop. Take a minute before you vote. Scan the Zohar. Scan the Zohar. Send light to all the candidates. All the candidates. The one you like, the one you don't like. Doesn't matter. They've got a piece of God inside them that we all need to be connected to. Send the light to all the candidates. Send the light to all the voters. Send the light to the people who aren't voting. Send the light out of America to all the world. You follow? Let's make the light so bright that you awaken consciousness. As we said, consciousness is everything. And we are now determining what happens to everybody, because we're all in that one ship and we can row against each other or we can row together and get to the end of pain, suffering, and death together for everybody. And just in case you're thinking, it doesn't mean whether it's you and I with our little bit or people out there who've done really terrible things, when there's so much light in the world that there can be no more darkness and therefore no more negative acts. It doesn't mean that the part we haven't corrected automatically gets cleared. I want to make that very important, because I've heard now, unfortunately, over the last few weeks, a number of students say, well, I don't want to send light to that person because then it's going to be like good for them. No, you send light to a person. Yes, when we get rid of Satan with enough Zohar in the world, then nobody can have any more negative thoughts. But what we still hold, even you and I, we have some greed, some ego, we'll have to go fix it. But it'll only be the light. We'll just go right ahead and fix it. So the people out there who've done really bad things, when the light is ruling the universe and there's no Satan, they will start to feel such pain. They'll see clearly the harm they've done themselves by harming other people. And when they start to feel that pain, what do you think they're going to do then? Then they're going to go out and apologize and forgive and pay back and restore, etc., etc. So it's not like, it's a free pass. You spread so much Zohar and the light takes over and Satan is gone and the angel of death disappears. Like a free pass for all the bad stuff we did. Not you and I and not them. But we'll go immediately and more quickly into repair. Fix, repair, restore heaven on earth. That's why we do what we do. That's why we encourage you. Get a Zohar if you don't have a Zohar. Spread the Zohar. Help us spread so much light. Transform yourself. You already voted? Scan anyway. Send the whole world light. Once we remove Satan, then all bets are off. Then, when there's no more darkness and there's no more opponent, who rules the world? The light of the Creator. Who's going to rule the human heart? Unconditional love. And what will we see on earth? Peace and harmony. And that is what, my friends, we have the opportunity to do right here and now. All we have to do is decide. So today is the day to make that decision. So like I wrote on Facebook, let's vote for the Creator to be the ruler of the universe. Let's not vote, right? And I'm telling you, let's not divisively vote one way or another. Vote whatever you feel. Vote for the person you want. But more importantly, let's vote for humanity. Because that's what originally all the systems were, whether it's religion, politics, economics, etc. It was, how can I help the other person? By the advantages I have, how can I help other people to be raised up and also be their 100%? It's not just about the rich giving to the poor or the wise giving to those who are unlearned, etc. No, it's about raising everybody up to reveal what God put inside of each and every one of us. So then we have to decide this week, next week, and for all the rest of the future, are we voting for humanity? Or are we just going to vote for whatever? All right? I say we vote for humanity. I say we vote for unconditional love. And we can do that because it's already been implanted in us. We just have to make it activated. So, God bless. Okay, so let me just put it here again. So let's just take a moment. Those of you who are here, this is our, let's see, paste. Yes, okay. So this is our time, the offering. We can't do this, we can't continue, we can't achieve our mission without your help. It's just that simple. Many of you have already been, helped us donate to the Karenberg Scholarship Fund for spreading the Zohar, whatever. Even just to maintain the building and Spiritual Sunday, right? It takes resources. So if you've benefited, please, open your heart and just share back. It's that simple. You cannot lose. Whatever you give has to come back to you 1,000-fold over. So that's why we always take these few moments just to bless our offering. So those of you here physically, just hold your offering in your hand. Those of you watching us on Facebook, I just posted the giving link. So please feel free afterwards, but join us now. We just want to empower our offering. So just first and foremost is this to have gratitude. Gratitude means we're acknowledging everything we are, everything we have comes from the Creator. Our job in this world is to imitate the Creator. So as the Creator is shared with each and every one of us, so too we want to share with each and every other person on the planet. And we've come to learn the most powerful and effective way is to spread the Zohar and this wisdom of Kabbalah. Going directly to the heart and soul of each person, piercing through whatever the divisiveness that the opponent has put between us, and consciously and actively being in greater unity to us individually, to our pure and perfect self, and each of us together with everybody around the world, to connect, to unite, to glue together the 7.5 billion pieces of the light of the Creator that's in the heart and soul of each of us. So we inject this love, this light, and this consciousness of gratitude into our offering, that it reaches out and makes manifest in this year peace, harmony, and unconditional love. And together we say, Amen. So let's thank everybody who's watching us from around the world. Thank you for joining us. And have a marvelous week. For some of you, have a good night. Sleep well. For some of you, have a great day just starting. And those of us in the middle, enjoy your afternoon. Okay? Thank you. Let me just... Okay.